We are on Gimel Amud Beis, towards the bottom. In fact, 2 lines from the bottom. So what we have had is so far Abaye's Pshat in Rav Nachman, which was that there are 2 types of amas. There's a 5 tefach amma and a 6 tefach amma, and depending on the situation, you always machmir. Right, so sometimes 6 will be chumrah, and sometimes 5 will be chumrah, and on maximums 5 is the chumrah. On minimums, generally, that's a basic guideline. 6 is a chumrah. And we mentioned 3 areas that we spoke about. We spoke about the Movli concept. We spoke about the Sukkah concept. We spoke about the Kerem, Klayim concept. Okay, that was Abaye. Now let's move into Rava. Because very often, as we've said, when there's an Abaye sighting, it's really, you can almost bet that Rava is not far behind. Rava Mishved Rav Nachman Omar, 2 lines to the bottom. Rava says the name of Nachman, Kol Amos B'Ama Bashisha. I don't buy any of these 5 tefach amma situations. That's a newfangled concept that I don't buy into. And all of the tefachim are 6 tefach. So all of the ammas are 6 tefachim ammas. So is there any difference l'chumra l'kula between one amma versus another? He does say yes. He'll agree to that, but not to the extent of a 5 to 6 tefach amma. That's a very big difference, relatively speaking. He says, Kol amos ba'ama bashisha. All amos are measured by 6 tefachim amos. Elalalu sheich hakais v'alalu atzevais. But some are smiling, so to speak, and some are sad. Meaning some are very tight, a tight tefach, where you're sort of like you're sad because you got, everything's clinched together. The other one is loose and smiling, so to speak, and it's looser. Okay, and that takes care of that. Let's take a look at Rashi. Any Rashi here? No. What? Oh, there it is. Thank you. Hello, L'Shachakos. Last Rashi on the page. Amos Klayim. When it comes to the Amos of Klayim, which we said going bigger is a chumrah, because they're talking about minimum shurim there. So the bigger you have to go is, that means you can't relax at a lower minimum. You got to go to a higher minimum. It says Amos Klayim meidedim b'tfachim gedolim. The amos of Klayim are measured by larger tfachim, smiling tfachim, looser. Your fingers are loose. There's a little bit gap in between one to the other. But when it comes to sukkah and mavi, with some sumas, they're tight. Okay, they're tight-fisted, l'chumra, because that will be l'chumra, that what you thought you had more space to go, no, you don't have more space. And they say it's like a 2% difference. They measured it out between tfachim, between the difference between one amma versus another amma will be a slight difference.
Is a kula.
Well, it depends which direction. If we went to a 5 tefacham, would be a kula. That's why we go to a. I mean, if we went to a tzevos, would be a kula. So by making it it loosens it up and it makes it bigger.
That's kula, right?
No, in this case, it's going to be chumrah. We're always being machmir. We're always going to be machmir in the measurement of an amma, depending on what the situation will be. We want to make it take it to the extreme level. Okay. So that's why it's much easier to understand when you're dealing with a 5 tefach amma versus 6 tefach amma. By Klayim, we went to a 6 tefach amma. By Amma, and by Sukkah, and by Mov, we went to a 5 tefach amma, because that would be the chumrah. But here, it's also a chumrah and kula. The same rules of the game, it's just much smaller at stake, much smaller issues and measurements, but it's still nonetheless a difference. And the rule is always a chumrah. We're not going to kula in any of these areas. We're not going to kula. We're not looking for any leniencies here. So, Meisei, let me ask you a question. What about the Bryce that says all of the amos that the rabbi said are talking about a 6 tefach amma? Uvad shelo yuhu mechuvanos. As long as they should not be exact, as long as they should not be the same. In other words, all Amos sounds mamash like a Rava statement. If you read this brisa like Rava, basically all Amos are 6 tefach Amos, and but just be careful that you shouldn't be the same. Sometimes they go loose, sometimes they go tight. If you read this glot the way it normally reads, it's mamash sounds like Rava. Look at Rashi. Shlo yumu chavanos k'refarish v'yazol shiu amos klayim Sheichakos. What does that mean? That means by the Klayim they should be looser. Amos. V'shel Mavi Yuvasukkah Atzevos. And by Mavi and Sukkah they should be tight-fisted Amos. So this is Mamish sounds like a Rava. So Bishleim Rava continuing the Gemara. Bishleim Rava Kecha Delavin Alalu Sheichakos Valalu Atzevos. The message of the Brisa is every Amma that we have in the Torah is a 6 tefach Amma, except that sometimes they're loose and sometimes they're tight. So the flow of the Brisa and the message is very clear. El Abaye Kasha, but according to Abaye, what are you talking about that there are always 6 tefach Amma? It's not true. Because Abaye's understanding of Rav Nachman was that there are 5 tefach Ammas. When it comes to Sukkah, and when it comes to Mavi, we measure in a 5 tefach Amma situation, and that is nowhere hinted to it in the Brisa. So what exactly are we going to do here? He says, right, so Elabaye Kasha, he says, look at Rashi, Elabaye Kasha, Horiktani Kol Amos Bi Amma Bashisha. When the Brisa says that all Amos are measured by 6 tefach Amma, that's definitely not Abaye's understanding of Rav Nachman. So how are we going to make sense out of this? So Amluch Abaye, back to the Gemara, third line from the top, Abaye will answer back, Ema Amas Klayim Ba'amas Bashisha. We're not talking about all Amas. Why interpret the Brisa to be talking about a universal concept that would cover Sukkah and Mavoi and Klayim? If we just limit it to Klayim, it's perfect because Abaye granted that there is a 6 tefach Amma when it comes to Klayim. Okay, so Abaye wiggles out of it by saying that the Brisa is not referring to, in this particular situation, to the universal concept of an Amma, but rather to the very specified Amma of Klayim. Look at Rashi. Ema Amas Klayim Ba'ama Bashisha. Okay, so now the question is, you're going to have to now understand, so how do you read the entire statement? He said, right? Because it says, based on the way we're rereading it, all Amas of Klayim are 6 tefach Amas. What's the next few words? So look at Rashi. V'ochi kamar, kol Amos sh'amru b'Klayim. All Amas mentioned in the area of Klayim, Ba'ama Bashisha, are mentioned as 6 tefach Amos. Uvad shalo yuhu uchavanos samos, but as long as that they should not be very, very tight, el gedolos petfachim sheichakos. They should be looser fitted. Okay, so in other words, it comes out even Abaye is granting the concept that there is between the tight and the looser Amos of Tvachim, I should say, we're going to go L'chumra in that area as well. So if you're going by Klayim, where the bigger the bigger the distance is L'chumra, so then you're going to go bigger, not only with the fact that you're going with 6, but you're also going Sheichakos, you're going loose. So that's how Abaye is going to read this Brisa. So right now he has successfully wiggled out of it. The only problem is, back to the Gemara, but the fact that Rav Shimon Gamliel says all amos that are mentioned by Klayim are referring to 6 tefach amos, as long as they should not be tight and and exact, really closed tight. That sounds like the Tanna Kama. B'chlal, if Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is now articulating a focused statement regarding Klayim, b'chlal the Tanna Kama kol amos kamar. Sounds like the Tanna Kama was referring to all amos, because if I already had Klayim within the context of my message in the Reisha of the Tanna Kama, why would Rabbi Shimon Gamliel have to then talk about Klayim? We already were talking about Klayim. So it seems like Rav Shimon Gamliel is introducing Klayim for the very first time. Rashi, he says, Ema, we did that. So fine. So Lamaisa Abaye's up against it, because how in the world are you going to read Rav Shimon Gamliel in light of Abaye's reading of the Reisha that he's talking about Klayim? Well, then why would Rav Shimon Gamliel have to mention the word Klayim? So he says, you got me, sort of. Abaye will answer back. If I read Rav Shimon Gamliel, he's a perfect Rav Nachman Brisa. His opinion. His opinion is saying, by Klayim, and uniquely by Klayim, we go with a 6 tefach measure, implying that when it comes to Sukkah and Mavi, we go with a 5 tefach measure. So that's it. I'm perfectly like Rav Shimon Gamliel, and I'm comfortable going to sleep at night knowing that I could fit in with that Tana. So Amlacha by one more time in the Gemara, V'lav me'ika Rav Shimon Gamliel dekoy kavasi, anod amri Rav Shimon Gamliel. So I will learn like Rav Shimon Gamliel. Okay, Gemara says fine. Okay, I get you. So what's really happening now is Abaye is sort of capitulating that the best he can get out of this Bryce is that it's a machlokas tanoim, and Rav Shimon Gamliel learns like Abaye, and I guess the Tanakama will learn like Rava. That's what it would sound like. So Labaye vade tanoihi. So according to Abaye, there's no way we just established it's got to be machlokas tanoim. There's no way to read this brisa in a smooth way that would have Abaye universally accepted. Abaye's understanding of Rav Nachman. So yes, it's definitely machlokas tanoim. But Rava mean leima tanoihi. But do we have to say that according to Rav as well? Is Rava forced into a position where these two Tanoim are arguing about this point? Rashi. He says, "Labaye vade tanoihi. The lomotzi lukme krabonon kavasei. There's no way you can establish rabbonon like him. The kol amos covered because they say kol amos, all including sukkah and including mavui. He says, but l'rava milema tanoihi mi amrinon. One more Rashi. You know what? We're going to do this Rashi when we come back. So l'rava next Rashi l'rava mi lema tanoihi. So in Abaye, there's no way around it. You have to say it's machlokas tanoim. But maybe in Rava, do you have to say that? Are you forced into saying that these two Tanoim are fundamentally disagreeing about Rava's position, which is basically that all Amos are 6 tefach Amos. The only difference is whether or not they're tight or whether they're loose. So look at Rashi. Mi amrina Rabbi Shimon Gamliel polagala l'meimar Amos klayim ba'Amos bas shisha. Do we say that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is arguing the Tanakama, and he says that the Amma of Klayim is an Amma of 6, Avushar Amos and Sukkah Mavi ba'Amma bas Chamisha, but all the other Ammas are of 5. Or maybe there's another way out, which is what we're ultimately about to say. Dilma Pushik Mafarish of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel l'Masai Rabbanan. Maybe Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is ultimately all he's doing is explaining the issue of the Rabbanan. The Amrei Umavat Shloyu Muchavanos, where he says as long as they are not muchavanos, which means simple, meaning they're not exact, they're not all the same. Not all amas are the same. The yesh mehen sheichakos, ve'yesh mehen atzevos. There are those that are looser, those that are tighter. Lo pirsha ezem hen sheichakos, ve'ezem hen atzevos. But he doesn't get into which ones are the looser ones, which ones are the tighter ones. V'yas ilu frushe, and now maybe, and this is sort of the alternate pshat. Rashi is sort of giving us the answer before we actually get to it in the Gemara, but he's sort of just explaining what was the Gemara's thinking and saying, do you have to say this? Because maybe you can say this. The Yossi Lafrushe, and then Rav Shimon Gamliel is just simply coming to explain the position of the Tanakama. The Hanach the Klayim Leve Shechakos, that the ones of Klayim are the looser ones, like we said, because it's a minimum number and you've got to be machmir to the bigger amount. As long as they're not B'chavanos him would mean mitzvim samos. They're not exact, meaning tight. Ulahachi itka klayim. Okay, that's why he mentioned klayim, because as long as they're not, they have to be loose. He wasn't trying to exclude other amos that they need to be 5. All he was trying to do said they shouldn't be loose; they have to be tight. Right, because according to Rava, there is no such thing as a 5 tefacham. Essentially, certainly in these 3 areas of halacha, there are no 5 tefacham. So, do you read it in a way where you have to acknowledge that it's machlokas tanoim, or can you read it in a way where it's all, in a sense, one thing, and the Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is simply coming to explain the position of the Tanakama, in which case all is honky dory and everything is good. So let's see here. Back to the Gemara. So we said. Rava milemet tanoihi. Amul charava. Back to the Gemara. Rava will come back and tell you. Rav Shimon Gamliel or Asla Shminon. What Rav Shimon Gamliel is trying to say to us is Amas Klayim lo yitzamsein. Okay, that the Amma of the Klayim should not be a tight one. Okay, that's really what he's saying. And even though he says it sort of in a broad way, but that's really his message, which was really what Rashi just finished saying as the alternative pshat, that Rav Shimon Gamliel is simply coming to focus on the amas of the klayim, that when it comes to klayim, you have to make sure to keep it loose and not tight. So the Gemara says, okay, it's nice try, V'leima, but wouldn't it be better to say V'leima bas amas klayim le'yin samsei? Okay, so let him just say that part of it. right? Let him just say that when you're dealing with client, make sure to keep the fingers loose and the measurements loose, and don't make the measurements tight. But why would he have to get in to the whole idea of Amas Bashisha? If they're all 6 anyway, why does he have to mention that there's such a thing as that we're going with the measurement of a 6 tefach amma? Everything is a 6 tefach amma. That's not the issue. The only issue was tight or loose, but not about 6 or 5. So the fact that he's introducing in his statement a 6 tefach amma sounds like there's something else he's trying to exclude. That's not a 6 tefach amma. So what is that coming to exclude? That you're introducing this concept of a 6 tefach amma, and you're very specific about it. What are you coming to exclude? Isn't it? Aren't you coming to exclude the position of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, or the Abayi's position, essentially, that there's such a thing as a 5 tefach amma, namely by the sukkah and by the mavli. So don't you see that the language is leading us to say that there is some case where there's a 5 tefach amma, and that sort of plays right into Abayi's position, that there's that it is a machlokas hanom. You can't wiggle out of it by saying everyone could agree with Rava, because if everyone agreed with Rava in the Brisa, and it's all 6 tefach amma scenarios, we're just deciding loose or tight, you wouldn't then introduce this notion of, kol amis or 6 tefach amis. Clearly it's coming to exclude something. So Gemara says, nice try. You do have me a little bit against the wall, but there are other cases. And all Rava wanted to maintain is that when you talk about sukkah, mavli, and klayim, they're all 6 tefach amis. I'm not buying into any deviation, but I'm not willing to say, and I never said that there's no case of a 5 tefach amma. So you want to know what it's coming to exclude? Loi. It's not coming to exclude the amma sukkah, the amma mavli, because all of those are 6. Lolamute amma yisoid v'amma soivev. We're talking about the amma of the foundation of the Beis Hamikdash's mizbeach, and the amma of the sovev of the sort of the rim that went around, the ledge that went around the mizbeach that was wider in the midpoint than the bottom half of the mizbeach. As I'm sure you've seen over the years, diagrams. He's got one there in the art scroll, but you see diagrams where there was a foundational base that was wider than the rest of the mizbeach going up, one amma wider on each side. Then there was another amma where it was wider, and then as you went higher, it went narrower. Okay, so those are where those ammas are measured in some areas as a 5 tefach amma as opposed to 6 tefach amma. The ksiv, as a pasuk in Yecheskel tells us, these are the measurements of the mizbeach in amos, when an amma is an amma in a tefach, to get to the normal amma, okay, which means you have to add another amma to get to the conventional 6 tefach amma, which means that we're dealing with 5 tefach ammas here. So the pasuk itself is directing you to the position that there are some scenarios where the 5 tefach amma is used. Which are those? Chek, the base. One second. Ve'elu midos hamizbeach ba'amos amma v'tefach. One second. Ve'elu midos hamizbeach ba'amos amma. I guess amma v'tofach. Okay, so in other words, these are the measurements of the mizbeach in the measurements of amos, when each one is an amma and a tefach, which means it's a 5 tefach amma. V'chek amma, v'amma rochev. Okay, there's the chek, I believe that's the base, we'll see Rashi, v'amma rochev, and then the other, sort of the ledger goes around it a little bit higher where it protrudes, and that also is a 5 tefach amma. Ugevula al sfasa, saviv zeras, ha'echad, and on the corners, on the edges, the borders on the edges, where the radius is a zeres, and a zeres is a half an amma, and we know that there were 4 corners that were like crowns, so to speak, on the mizbeach. They served as places where the ashes were, and etc. The different things. So they protruded up an amma, And if you made a circle in them and you established a radius, since they're 1 amma in diameter, the radius would be a half an amma. Zeres echad v'zeh gav hamizbeach. And also this, the top of the mizbeach, which we'll see what that's referring to. So now the Gemara is going to explain what all these are. Cheika amma zeh yisoid. So when the pasuk says the cheika amma, this is the foundation. V'amma rochev zeh sovev. And the amma, that's why this is referring to the sovev, that border. Ugavula al sfasa saviv elu hakarnos. These are the crowns, so to speak, that were in the 4 corners of the very top of the mizbeach. And when the last expression, the mizbeach hazav, that's referring to mizbeach hazav. These areas were used by the 5 tefach amma measurement. Okay, so this is what the Bryce was trying to exclude. It wasn't trying to exclude the 5 tefach amma of sukkah and mova, because that doesn't happen. Those ammas are measured in 6 tefachim. But when you have a pasuk dealing with the Beis Hamikdash that Yecheskel wrote about, that, not all of them, because there are other ammas that are 6 tefach ammas, but these ammas were 5 tefach ammas. Let's do Rashi. He says ha'asal hashmina. That's what we're up to, right? Right after the big Rashi. Ha'asal hashmina amas klayim lo yitzamsing. Okay, you could maybe say, and this is what Rava tries to say, that when the Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is just trying to be specific in explaining the position of the Tanna Kama. He's telling you when you're talking about klayim, don't make it tight. He's not trying to exclude other cases of amma from being 6 tefachim. No, they're all 6 tefachim. But this one you should not be tight with as you would be tight by mavi and sukkah. Morris says, yeah, but that doesn't fit with the language. So isn't it coming to exclude sukkah and mavui? And Morris says, no. Next Rashi, lo lamute amma yisoid v'amma soivev delav b'noi shishahin. Those are not 6 tefach ammas. Those are 5 tefach ammas. So according to the 5 and 6 position, you see the Torah itself recognizing that there are different types of amma measurements. Okay, the ones the other type of distinctions that we made between the loose and the tight amma, that's really a little bit tougher. Where's the basis to make it looser and wider? Why don't we just have one? And there are different opinions to why we're not sure about which way to go. Why isn't it just one conventional measurement? But let's see, B'amos amma v'tefach, B'amos ketanos. We're dealing with smaller amos, Bas chamisha. Okay, there are 5 tefach amos. Sheish ba'amma bas vav beinanis amma v'tefach me'elu, where the typical conventional middle of the range amma, which is 6 tefachim, has, using this measurement, as this and one of the tefach inside of it. Right? So in order to get to a regular conventional amma, you'd have to add one more tefach to this amma. That's what the pasuk means, amma v'tefach. So what are these things that are measured by 5 tefachim ammas? Cheika amma, nimdad bi amos ketanos. They're measured with, the base is measured with small amos. V'chein amma rochev, so to the amma which goes wider. V'chein gvuloi asfasoi zeres echad. Okay, so to the border on the edges, it's measured by zera. Zeh gavim mizbeach. Okay, this is referring to the, should be maybe God. What's it? Dalid. Dalid. V'chein gavim mizbeach. Okay, that's referring to the very top of the mizbeach. Kulam bi'amos ketanos. That's all referring to these smaller ketanos. Cheik amos, what are they? So the Gemara defines them, and Rashi explains. Cheik amos ze yisoid. Cheik al shem shu chikuyoi v'tikunoi shu mizbeach milamayla. Tikunoi chikuyoi v'tikunoi. You're fixing it up, and chikuyoi, maybe you're building up from within it. Sort of sounds like a notion of carving out. What's the little hey? V'tikuoi. It sort of extends from it. Okay, but basically this is the wider foundation, which the height of that foundation is a 5 tefach amma. Okay, then we had that where it gets wider, and that's also measured as a 5 tefach amma. And then you get to the very top, ela kronos, shein amma alama. Each one was 1 amma by 1 amma in the 4 corners of the top of the mizbeach. And when we use the measurement of zeres, it's referring to from the middle of that amma. Okay, if you make a circle and you do the middle, and obviously in all directions you're going to have a radius of that circle. That's what we're referring to. Zeres shuchatzi amma. Zeres is a half an amma. L'chol ruach in every direction. Davi amma alamu. Okay, that's when you draw a circle within a square of a amma by amma. You'll have, obviously in the corners you'll have more than an amma, but on the circle that the 4 points of the circle, right, at the four ends of the two diameters of that circle, whatever, just if you make a straight plus sign in that circle, and you make of that square, and you make a circle in that area, then you'll have a radius of a half an amma going around that circle. Okay. Okay. V'zegav hamizbeach klaimer ba'ama katana zu nimdar amma shemizbeach hazov. When we talk about the Mizbeach Hazov, which was a much smaller golden Mizbeach inside the Heichel, that also was measured with the smaller Amos. It says there in Shemais that Mizbeach Hazov was an Amma long and an Amma wide. Okay, looks like now he's looking like he's going back now. In Menachos, it seems to say that this pasuk is explained. The Amma Yisoid the Kamrei B'Ketana, that when we talk about the Amma Yisoid, the foundational Amma that we just referenced just now, that it's used as a smaller measurement. La B'Roichev Knisas HaYisoid. Okay, we're not referring to the extension part of the Amma, right? Because in other words, when you have a big, let's just say for example, okay, this is the Mizbeach, and then this is the foundation outside of it. There are two aspects. There's the height from the bottom, this way. Okay, so in other words, you have this height of the foundation, and you have this protrusion of the foundation going to the next part of the Mizbeach. So there's potentially two different references you can have when you refer to the Amma. Is it the height of the Amma, or is it the width of the Amma away from the essential Mizbeach, which is the core edifice called a mizbeach. So technically you can look at it two ways. So it says here, Rashi's quoting the Gemara Menachos, La v'rochev knisas yisod. It's not the width, ella b'goyv al yosod. It's referring to the height of that yisod. Amar mar ol amma, as we said, he references an opinion above. Ol amma v'konas amma. You go up an amma and you go in an amma. Zeh yisod. That's referring to the foundation. Avarochev achnisa b'am b'shisha. But the width of this item, of this base, this foundation, was actually an Amma Bashisha, a sixth of a Amma. The Amma Sovev, and also the Amma of the Sovev, Knisas Delay Amma, Katana, V'lehei Ammo Shel. Okay, so, and also when you have the Sovev, which is, I guess, that outer rim, when you go up 5 Ammas, then you have another indentation and another, like a new stage where it becomes narrower, and that goes up another 4 amas. He says, so one more time. V'yama seivev knisa delay b'ama katana v'lo hey amoshel aliyah. 1 second. Zay said avol haknisa. When I'm backing up to the end of the second line of Rashi there, the wide lines. Avol haknisa b'ama bashisha. Okay, fine. Okay, when the thickness of that foundation is 6. V'yama sovev knisa delay b'ama katana. Again, I guess the entering, the flat part where you move into the next wall is measured with amma katana. V'lo hey amas shel aliyah goyve b'ama katana, but the height of the next 5 amas is not measured with an amma katana. Katan Allah, as we learned on a Mishnah on that halacha, chamesh, you go up 5. V'konas amma zasovev. Right, so when you go up 5, then you go in 1. That's the sovev. V'konos. Okay, so you're just basically telling us we need to know the difference, that we're talking about the width of that amma that goes in 6 ammas off the ground, 5 plus 1, the amma of the yesod, and you have 5 ammas up, and you go in 1. That's where it was. That indentation is where it's 1 amma of a 5 tevach. But the height was going with 6. The kronos loshna goyven loshna rochvan. But when it comes to the corners of the top of the mizbeach, there it makes a distinction between the height or the width. But amma katana, it's all measured by an amma katana. Okay, and again, the diagrams are very good in the art scroll. Okay, Haggah. Let's see here. Kashamafurish bekuntris. What's this? This is some kind of addendum here. Kashamafurish bekuntris Shama Rabbeinu Rabbi Yaakov by Yokar V'yata Chazabai. The Kashleim Ashtav Yinonis and Amma. Okay.
Another executive decision.
What? Can I hear you? What?
Is it time for another executive decision?
Yeah, I think let's move on. Let's move on. Okay, I think Baruch Shem, at least when we get to Menachos, I guess we'll get more into it. But he retracts and has different shots. Yeah, I think we have enough to go on here. Okay, so let's go back to the Gemara. 2 dots. Amar B'chia. Okay, thanks for that idea. Okay, so Amar B'chia Barashi, Rav Chia Barashi says, Amar Rav, Shiron Chatzitzin U'mechitzin Halacha Moshe Messinai. Okay, so Rabbi Avrohom lays down a foundational principle that all measurements, all laws of chatzitza, of separations, and mechitzin, and the laws of mechitza of the walls of that separate rishuyos, these 3 big areas in halacha are all halacha Moshe Messinai. They're not rabbinically made, they're not written in the Torah, but they're halacha Moshe Messinai. Okay, really? Let's do Rashi here for a minute. Shiran shenasnu chacham, second wide line. Shiran shasacham l'chodavar gon k'zayis dam. Chaylev, pigul, noiser. The whole measurements of a k'zayis for the prohibition of dam and chaylev and pigul left a carbon with the wrong mashava and also leftover stuff for k'zayis men amaze. Shematabo, and also the k'zayis of a dead person. That's matam noel. V'shash shiran and forshakam and the other things that we're going to explain. Halacha Moshe Messinai. Chatzitza hapsolas betfila. The chatzitza that passes by tefillah also is halacha Moshe Messinai. And finally, mechitzin. Hilchas mechitzin shtei goiva asara. That should be 10 high. V'chein shari hilchoseh halacha Moshe Messinai. And all other halachas relating to the laws of mechitza, halacha Moshe Messinai. Okay. So, back to the Gemara. Shira Deraisahu. Aren't the shear Deraisa? You said it's halacha Moshe Messinai. It seems like the shear of a kezayis is Deraisa. The ksiv, because it says Eretz Chitus Ora, right? We have the famous pasuk about the grains of Eretz Yisrael that the Eretz Yisrael is praised by Chitus Ora, etc. Okay, Eretz Chitus Ora, Gefen Teina, meaning the side of the Gemara. They've Rimon Eretz Zeis Shem and Devash, the famous Zayin Minim. Okay, so there you have it. So, and what do we learn from that pasuk? The Amar of Chanan and Kol pasuk Azel Shurin Nema. This entire pasuk was said as relates to the laws of Shurin, of sizes of different things that we're measuring. Chito, for example, wheat. What's that coming for? Look, Tanan. As we learned in the Mishnah, if a man enters into a house that's tomei with a tzaraz, the kelev al kseifav, and his items are on his shoulder, the sandal v'tabas biyadav, and his shoes and his ring is in his hand. He's not wearing them. Hu v'hem tamei miyad. So when they come in, they tomei right away because that's not garments. That's items that are self-contained independently. They're not on somebody. They're being carried by somebody. They're not being worn. So therefore, they all become tummy immediately. But if he was wearing these kalim and the shoes, baraglov, right, and the shoes are on his feet, and the rings are on his finger. So it's a right that men in those days actually, right, we have many rayas, but the whole ring thing is okay for men. Certainly back in the good old days, hu tamei miyad, so he would become tamei right away as he walks in. Ve'hein tarin pras, but those items that he's wearing are not going to be tamei until he stays into that room. He stays the distance or the time frame of the eating of a half a loaf of bread. Okay, what kind of bread? Paschitin, voy pasayrin. Okay, he says. Not just paschitim, but not pasayrim, but paschitim, which is easier to eat. Mesiv reclining v'ocha b'lifton. Okay, and he eats it with a dip. So you see that the chit is coming for a specific share of how long you have to be in that house to render your garments tamei is got to be b'chlei achilas pras. Okay, let's just see the Rashis hopefully quickly, and then we'll pick it up tomorrow. Lishur nemra. And with every one of these things in the Torah, we measure a different halachic issue. 4 wide lines down. He's not wearing him derech malbush. Dumi de kelev akseifav. Just like the garment on his shoulder, it's not really being worn. Huveim mitamin miyad. Shafheim boin elabayis. Because they too came into the house. It says if anything that comes into the house, if it's independently entering the house, it's tamei immediately. However, lavish kelev v'chein kulam derech levishasen kruyim begadav. Okay, ubatelin. So when you're wearing it, it becomes bottled to the guy, and they're not coming in independently; they're only coming in agav the guy. It says if you eat in the house, you got to wash your clothing. We darshan in the Brisa from the Psukim, the high oichel lav achila mamashu doesn't mean that you have to actually eat. El shishah kadei shira achila ubeya blo shia in a matam megadim. So you have to stay in there the amount of time, amount of eating ubeya below shia in a matam megadim. And if you just come in without staying there, just quick in and out, it's not gonna make you tamei. How much you have to eat, or how much time do you have to stay? Pras. Daled beitzim hey mazon suda beinis. It's a normal meal. 4 eggs worth of bread is the normal meal. Pras lashon prusa. Okay, pras is lashon of breaking. Shishura b'chatzi kikar. It's a half a loaf. Hamur be'eruvin. Debina mazon beis sudo sutan hosam chetzi lebeis hamanuga peraketza. Some things need a full mazon of 2 sudas. Other things need half of it, and it's all explained in Perik Ketzad. That's actually later on. Okay, what kind of bread? Pas chitin ein shoa ba kapas iron. You don't have to. It doesn't take you as long to eat wheat bread as opposed to barley bread. So barley bread takes you longer. Meisaf shiazu be'seva. When you talk about the time, it's got to be with reclining. Shireha, that's the shir. That's the amount you have to wait. It's not called. You can't measure it when you're standing and pressing it down in a second. Uba shusha b'chila yoser, which means. It can't be just going in and out. That means you have to wait for the eating longer than that. Okay, v'ochel b'lifton shenachos maher. V'lo b'chelas b'mida v'holech uba shushoa b'chelas yoser. Well, it sounds like the other way around, that if you have to stand and eating, and you eat it with a dip, which eats it faster. Okay, so maybe sounds like this measurement is actually a quicker measurement as opposed to the other measurement. If you're not eating with a dip, I guess it's harder to take all the food down, and it's a longer shear if it was without reclining and dipping. If you're just standing there, it's harder to take it down. Okay, we'll pick this up tomorrow. Shkoyach.